The Z Fold 5 has been in my hands for just over a week now, and in my opinion, it's already phone of the year. Daniel here for SamMobile TV, and this is our review of the Galaxy Z Fold 5. Z Fold 5 is the culmination of Samsung's experience of making smartphones, but also a 5-year run-up of making foldables and refining the experience. By now we should be aware of the main specs of this phone, but let's just quickly recap the headlines. It's powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy, which, to be honest, above all else, the biggest improvement that the Fold 5 actually gets internally. It has an improved peak brightness in outdoor conditions of 1750 nits, which is super noticeable, especially when you use it in that outdoor environment. Back to internal, it's got an improved cooling system, which I definitely myself have noticed as I've been using the Fold 5 to capture a lot of content, both long form and short form, and it definitely doesn't heat up nearly as much as you might expect for what I'm doing with it. The rest is as you would expect, because it's pretty much the same as last year. It's got a 4400 milliamp hour battery, which charges at the same speed, 25 watts, which is disappointing, but I get it as to why they're sticking with that speed for this device. The displays, aside from brightness, are the same size and same resolution and the same refresh rate. Still supports the S Pen. It's a little bit slimmer this year, but last year's S Pen does still work, and it's still IPX8 water resistant. No dust resistance to speak of, at least officially, in the Z Fold 5. But to summate the Z Fold 5 into just specs wouldn't be doing it justice. So this review is going to be broken down into 3 main sections. We're going to be talking about the design, we're going to look at the cameras, and we're going to then look at the software. Let's start with design. On the surface, the Fold 5 looks the same as the Fold 4, but I'm not comfortable saying that out loud anymore, especially after I've held onto it. Once you get it in your hands, you feel every difference that Samsung has made from a design standpoint. Immediately when I picked it up for the first time, it felt lighter to hold compared to when I had the Fold 4 last year. The 10 grams of weight that they shaved off is every bit as noticeable as you might expect, especially when the device is open, but I certainly have noticed it when it's closed. It's not even remotely uncomfortable to hold for long stretches of time. To put it into perspective, it's only 23 grams heavier than an iPhone 14 Pro Max. And that phone doesn't fold at all. Doesn't even have half the capabilities that this thing does. The other thing that is incredibly noticeable that ties into the weight is when it is closed, it doesn't occupy anywhere near as much space in the hand. That is all down to Samsung closing the gap. In theory, the 2mm or so that they shaved off the thickness doesn't sound like a lot, but in practice, it makes all the difference. This new hinge design is what allows for this, and this hinge feels super smooth from open to shut and back open again, and as usual, it holds itself in place wherever you need it to. Samsung has plenty of features that take advantage of the hinge capabilities, but we'll get to that when we get to software. There's a lot of chatter about the Fold 5 not being a flagship camera system. I don't buy into that narrative at all, because my belief for the longest time is what Samsung don't pack in with hardware, they make up for it more so with software optimizations. For the longest time, that's been my belief, and I honestly see it every single year. There is some extra optimizations they give to the Fold compared to their S series. The Fold 5 has a stack of physical cameras on board, but its strength doesn't come from the sensor hardware or how many cameras there are. It comes from the form factor's flexibility that it offers. Before we do cover that though, the actual quality of photos that the Fold 5 outputs is sensational. Its 3 rear cameras have great shadow detail, amazing HDR, and overall an immense amount of detail in their image, and very pleasing to look at. You can see from these examples that each camera offers super impressive quality. You honestly won't be disappointed. The ultra-wide camera is great to have, but the main camera is what really shines. The 50 megapixel main camera just takes some incredible shots in any conditions. Video is the same. It gets all the benefits from the new ISP and brings a lot of the S23's improvements with it in terms of digital stabilization, enhanced modes, and for example, the 4K portrait video mode, which I love using. But the Fold 5 is more than just its image and video quality. It's what the form factor allows you to do by its design. From using the rear cameras for its selfies or from putting it down and acting it like a tripod, no other phone can do what the Fold 5 can do, which is what truly sets it apart. Yes, it doesn't have 10 times optical zoom, but it does things that the S23 Ultra can't do. So there's that as well to consider. I love myself personally, the ability to use flex mode and just pop it to fold down on a flat surface and just use it to capture things. I have 2 kids, and part of the fun of parenting is getting involved with them. But when you're constantly behind the camera, you can miss out. So using the fold to capture moments hands-free is a joy. While you're in this state too, you can take advantage of software features like auto framing, which works to keep everyone in frame and acts like someone is holding the camera for you. You do hear a lot of people complaining of the under-display camera and its poor selfie quality. I have 2 points to make here. The under-display camera is not designed for selfies. It's a video call camera. It's there to give you the opportunity to take calls on that massive 7.6 inner display, but also not being in the way when you don't need it. And the second point is there are so many other ways to take selfies. Why would you want to use an inferior camera of any kind? And that includes the main 10 megapixel selfie camera on top of that. Overall, it's just a non-issue. As I said, Samsung allows you to use the rear cameras for your selfies, and it's absolutely the way you should be doing it. Not only do you get all the modes and cameras available to you, the quality is just better. You can see the 3 selfie camera options here next to each other, and it's not even close. And that takes into account as well both portrait photos and your video options. You can see the portrait photo mode from the main 10 megapixel to the rear camera selfie is just so much better. And in video, well, let's not even bother highlighting it. You can see it for yourself. You don't have this option on a normal smartphone, and this is the difference that the Fold 5 provides you over something like, for example, an S23 or S23 Ultra. The last part of this review looks at the software. Fold 5 ships with One UI 5.1.1, which is based off Android 13. Obviously, it will get the One UI 6 upgrade and the 3 subsequent One UI versions after that. But we start here. And as usual, it's packed full of features. We're not going to go through everything, as this review is sort of isolated to the things I've been enjoying using in my first week, and I've definitely put the new stuff through its paces. I loved the Fold 4's introduction of the taskbar. I think it's genius. A genius way to add more productivity to the Fold and take advantage of its bigger display. The Fold 5 has made it better. Now I can see up to 4 recent apps on the taskbar, meaning I can jump back and forth a lot quicker between the apps I'm using concurrently. Of course, launching apps into multi-window from the taskbar is amazing, and I still do that all the time. The other thing I've really been liking is the new pop-up tabs that you can create. From the taskbar, if you've dragged an app into a pop-up, you can just easily flick it over to the side in a tab. Really beneficial for messaging apps, for example, because you can just quickly bring them back into view if it's a group chat and it's going off. The last new software feature that I've been enjoying is the updated Flex Mode panel. There are a number of apps pre-optimized to support Samsung's Flex Mode. The camera, YouTube, phone app, Google Meet, the list goes on. You can, however, force any app to support it via Flex Mode panel. You can enable it in Labs, which is inside Advanced Features. I myself love using it for Spotify. I think it just creates an unrivaled experience in allowing you to use the bottom half for controls and the top half for viewing. Definitely recommend it. Other notable software inclusions is the optimized versions of Instagram, Outlook, WhatsApp, Telegram, and many, many more, which are way more supportive of this inner display on the Fold 5. In summary, the Fold 5 is a beast. It's only been a week, so I'm not going to make comments on the battery life. A lot of people tend to really go early with battery life on Samsung phones, but I'm experienced enough to know that it takes around 2 to 3 weeks to truly optimize usage to my needs. So I'm going to leave that for a future review after I spend more time with it. So make sure you subscribe to SamMobile TV. Go check out our website as we have heaps more Samsung content featured over there. App updates, software updates, news, reviews, it's all covered on SamMobile's website. We'll see you next time.